Itaola, it's VJ, the brother from the ancient mother and man. It's been a minute, but we are here. We are back. It's the Headspace, and yo, guys, I want to talk about something that I was extremely triggered by, and I put the air commas there because it doesn't essentially really bother me, but it really gets to me when I hear people who profess to be hip-hop heads, right, enforcing a certain standard upon hip-hop that is unwritten but should be at some point known. I'm talking about the recent KEED saga. For those who didn't hear, KEED, rapper from Cape Town, she is phenomenal, more or less in the vein of the trap trend, but a spectacular MC at that. We reviewed projects of hers. That case, I'm sure someone must make money links to the description to reviews that we've done on KEED for those who don't know, to check out the music. But nonetheless, she is on DJ Speedstar's show. Speedstar subtly kind of encourages her to spit her free. She reluctantly says no, and the internet goes ablaze because a rapper is not supposed to refuse an opportunity to rap. Hip-hop heads enforce the idea that if you are asked to rap and you don't, and you're a rapper, you're not a real rapper. And I didn't understand where this was coming from. Having personally have been a rapper, I might still be a rapper, who knows, but having been a rapper, having grown up in the cypher, having been embedded in the culture of hip-hop, the one thing I can say is that there's never been a point, and if you disagree with me, please, the engagement, the conversation, so you are welcome to get on the comment section, sing ngogole, and be beautiful about this and engage. But here's the point I want to bring across. I do not remember a time where you had to rap if you said you rapped. You rap when you want to. You rap when it comes. You rap because it feels right. Furthermore, the cypher was a space where you observed those that rapped, and when you felt ready, ungene in the space in the cypher and make yourself known. An additional point that I made on the other social network is that most of these shows are prepared. When MCs freestyle, it's actually a prepared brief that is a part of the interview. You talk a little bit about what you are about, who you are, what's your story, and then in the end, you're expected to rap because that's part of what you signed up for. Clearly, this did not happen in this instance. There's no way KEED would have not wanted to rap if she knew she was expected to rap. So that's my first issue, is that you can't just expect an artist to perform for you when you haven't told them they were supposed to perform. And so the issue is, no, but that's not hip hop. Where has hip hop ever inculcated a culture where somebody does something because they are compelled? Rap is about freedom. Rap is about expression. It's never been about duty or even for that matter, because I know sometimes we get it twisted. You develop a reputation as a rapper, but you don't rap for the reputation. You don't rap for the hype. You rap in order to ease your soul, to kick off some feelings, to do what you love to do. And I think there has been a crosswire in our understanding of rap and just generally hip-hop as the years have gone by. And I want to really break that down. So I want to start with the whole KEED saga because as a VJ, I feel like it's absolutely crazy that people are downing on KEED and they're shitting on her because she didn't want to rap. Do you know the amount of MCs that have been on radio shows have been asked to freestyle and did not rap? MCs we revere. Have you ever heard an Andre 3000 radio freestyle? Have you ever heard a Nas radio freestyle? Apart from that one he did with Stretch and Bobito. I'm trying to get to a point where freestyling on air is part of a package. It's an interview. You go there, and if you're expected to rap and you don't have a ready verse, you can easily say no. It says nothing about the caliber of an MC if they refuse to rap on a radio show. If we're talking about an actual show that they're built to perform for, if we're talking about any space where they know they're supposed to rap and they don't, then it's an issue. Why are we assuming that every time a rapper is asked to rap, they must rap? Which other art form, if I interviewed a painter on the Ed Space and I gave him an easel, a brush, some colors, and everything that they needed, and told them to paint, would they be expected to paint? Why have we been indoctrinated to accept this idea that rappers need to be ready all the time? It just doesn't make sense to me. That's an open question for you to get back to me at as you watch this episode. If you got a burning response to that, highlight me on the comment section, because I want to a bit more. I want to expand this. A lot of people took away a certain kind of ideal from this Kiki situation, and it reminded me of why I hate people who call themselves hip-hop heads. They say rap is a sport. If there's anything that I really loathe, it's that phrase. Rap is not a sport. Well, not to me. And I'm going to break it down. A sport, by definition, is a competitive game where two or more people go against each other in order to win. Rap began as an art form that spans out of a tradition that was based on breaking down or opening an experience of having a good time. The block party gave birth to rap. The block party gave birth to hip hop. Rappers were a part of the experience of the everyday person who was part of these block parties. In no point in the history of hip hop were MCs compelled to rap, and secondly, were MCs doing rap in order to compete with each other. If anything, the true spirit of rap is collaboration. Because if we're all having fun in this jam, if songs is a embadleni or whatever you call it where you're from, and you're having a good time and you decide to go up to the stage and kick a free or a verse and have a good time, that's what the essence of it is for you to get what's out in your spirit and share it with an audience. That's why this is an MC, those that move the crowd. When did we start having this idea that it's about competing with other MCs? Where does this come from? Because the MC is a conduit for the crowd to find themselves in his or her message. So this idea that rap is competitive by nature, and that even to make it even worse, hip hop is competitive by nature, it drives me nuts, because you are confusing capitalism with hip hop. So I want to break it down. I want to talk about why I think hip hop is not competitive, is not a sport, but rap is not a sport and not competitive either. Capitalism is a sport. Capitalism is competitive. And the essence of how capitalism has dissolved and taken up everything in the space, imbibes it with a spirit yayo. So let's not get it twisted. Hip hop and rap is not a sport. Capitalism has the instinct of competition, and it's driven it deep into the DNA of rap, because rap is now part of popular culture. Rap is now part of popular culture. For the most of us, we've been introduced through this beautiful art form through pop culture. Pop culture drives an incentive. A1. Make money. If you're going to make money, you've got to look out for the people who might threaten your capacity to make money. So when you are a commercial rapper, it is in your best interest to look at the atmosphere of what you are competing against. I've said this before in the reviews, is that when I review a project, it's based on a lot of things. But fundamentally, it's based on the artist, understanding what they're doing, and looking how they compete in the context of the environment that they are part of. So I'm not discarding this competitive element, but I am fighting the fact that there are people who argue that it is inherent to hip hop. It is not. Hip hop at its core is about community building. It's about having fun. It's about transcending our limitations, our political limitations. Rap became competitive the moment capitalism saw an opportunity to make rappers into money-making superstars. And when you're a money maker, you need to understand how to make more money and how to challenge the people that do not make enough money as you. So let's start this kind of a deep dive into the history of how hip-hop, and by extension the art form of rap, went into a direction that was capitalist and therefore became competitive, but is not in its nature a competition. So I want to start this conversation off by kind of hinting a little bit into the early roots of hip-hop as a culture. I think a lot of people do not know the fact that, the famed Rapper's Delight song, a hippie to the hip hop, was probably the first instance where rap was seen as an opportunity to capitalize. And ever since then, it moved forward. Curtis Blow, Slick Rick, the list goes on. By the time we get to Rakim, rap is already in a place where it's a capitalistic product. It's ready for sale, for selling. And so what that does is that it turns art into business. And this is something that we don't often understand in the proper context. Art cannot and will never not be inherently a business. We live in a capitalistic world where everybody needs to make money. So now, as an artist, you need to understand your art in the context of business. You need to understand how your spirit, your soul, your creativity is something that you can possibly make money from. And so I think part of this conversation that I really want to spell out loudly and distinctly is that it's all good and fine to understand the realities of the capitalist system that we live in. But when we start to conflate and confuse capitalism for life itself, it's a problem, because that's kind of the point why capitalism thrives, is we think it is everything and all things, and we can't remember a time without it, and we don't think there's ever going to be a time without it. And so my argument right here is that things by nature of the system happen to be capitalist, but it's important to look at the core of where cultures are born. Hip-hop was not born from a capitalist spirit. It's an art form that inner city people created to try and escape their struggle by creating parties. The MC emerges from that atmosphere. It becomes a capitalist project when the MC becomes a product. So this whole idea that rap is a sport comes only after rappers need to make money. So when rappers need to make money, they need to compete with other rappers. They need to look at what other rappers are doing so that they can be the rappers who make more money than all these other rappers. This is a fact, and I think we all understand that, but where the rap is a sport thing comes from is this misunderstanding, I feel, of capitalism with the actual essence of hip-hop. Capitalism embedded itself into the way that rap is done, because now rap is a product. Rap is a genre that needs to make bank. But if we're going to have this understanding that it is a sport, let's apply the rules of sport to rapping. Do you rap because you want to be better than other rappers, win over other rappers? Do rappers rap because they want to increase the historical value of their wins and losses? That's an open question. If you're here and watching, holler at me in the comment section, because I do not think so. I think like any other art form, rappers express themselves because of the things they're going through in life. they found the art form of rap as a suitable method to express themselves. The greatest rappers, and this is on record, the greatest rappers were not motivated by competition first. They were motivated by what's in their voice. And then secondly, looking at rap in and of itself as a sport is probably why a lot of hip-hop heads complain about rap not being given exposure and opportunity. Because anytime a rapper raps with another rapper, they're busy trying to outshine them instead of working and having a beautiful moment to sing and be on a song together. Every time rappers get on platforms together, they're busy trying to outshine each other instead of building the culture at large. This competitive spirit that sneaked itself into rap is probably the reason why rap doesn't develop. Because you're too busy rapping to be the best instead of rapping for what's in your soul, telling your story. You're looking at what other people are doing. You are looking at the pressure of trying to prove yourself to a demographic of people who really and sincerely just want to hear the art and the value of the art you're doing. So I'm here to argue for the value of rap as an art. People don't really realize this, but they disqualify rap as an art when they say things like, Tupac is the better artist and Biggie is the better rapper, as if rap is not an art. Because when you say that, you're saying Biggie is not an artist. But rap is an art. It goes in hand concurrently with the expressions and the freedom of rappers as they do what they do. So I feel like what this has done is that it's created this fake separation or dichotomy between rappers who rap for lyricism sake and rappers who rap for pop culture. Remember when Yasin Bey went viral for saying Drake is pop? As if he was disqualifying Drake's rapping ability. He wasn't.
So it feels like a lot of his music is compatible with shopping.
He was simply saying Drake raps in a way that's so commercially friendly that you would hear him go ShopRite. He wasn't saying Drake is not a rapper. He was saying Drake's rapping fits in the context of pop culture. And pop culture fits in the context of trends. And not every rapper can be trendy. But not being trendy does not disqualify them. Being trendy, rather, does not disqualify them from being a rapper. The most trendiest MCs, Jay-Z at some point was the peak of pop culture rap. Lil Wayne. And these are legitimately good MCs. But now this fake thing where you have the Jay-Z's and the Lil Waynes and the Drakes, and then here you have quote unquote real hip hop. Real rap. As if what they're doing does not reflect the development of rapping right now as a people. When it does. So I think it's important for us to understand that feeding into the other end of it, where we adore and we celebrate these hyper lyricists for being real rappers, is also a bit of an oxymoron. Because to be truthful, I don't think what people know what lyricism is. So I'm going to start with the actual definition of lyric. The word lyric and lyrical is rooted in the idea of emotion. People think being lyrical is being complex. Or at least people in the avenue of rap. Because notice the rappers who are always regarded as great lyricists. They have a tendency to be the more wordier, to be the more layered rapper. And so as a result, lyricism has come to mean those qualities, when it isn't. To be lyrical means to write with the intent of eliciting emotion, with the intent of telling an emotional story, which is something not all musicians do. some musicians speak into the microphone as a way to follow the groove of the beat, but others have an intentional message that they're trying to bring across. The moment you do that, and the moment you do that with intention, you're now stepping into the world of the lyricist. So I'm saying this because there are people who would regard somebody like Ifani as, no, he's not a lyricist. But look at some of Ifani's songs, like Langoma, he dedicates to his late grandmother. Ingoma Ezimnandi, thank you. Ingoma Ezimnandi is lyrical. It's Ifani giving an account of how his grandmother made him feel, the things that were important. And even if you think it's some nursery rhyme, fundamental shit that doesn't get to any complex metaphor, being lyrical is not being literarily complex. It's being intentionally vulnerable. That's what lyricism is. The moment an artist opens up their heart to you and tells you their story, they are writing lyrics, not just words anymore. Because they could say anything to you. They could say, put your hands up, take your alcohol and shove it in your butthole. Or they could say, here's a story about how I grew up. The moment they do the latter, they've stepped into the purview of lyricism. So those who think lyricism is about rappity, snappity, cabbagey, labbity, dabbity, it's not complexity. I would argue that great lyricists are simple because they're able to make their words known and understood and their story known and understood to the vast majority of people who listen to their music. This is not a rub against MCs who choose to be complex. I'm a fan of intricate writers. But intricacy is not lyricism. It isn't. Emotional vulnerability, intentional emotional vulnerability is what lyricism is hinged on. So that's what is the core of lyricism. And as a result, this fake divide between lyricists and those lyricists as real MCs and everything else as not, I want to debunk that. So to conclude this all, my rant here is fundamentally rooted in the Kiki story, where she's being put down publicly because she didn't want to rap, because of an expectation that rappers are always supposed to rap. An expectation that I claim is based on capitalism, not hip-hop. Hip-hop does not mandate rappers to rap when they can't, when they don't want to. It doesn't take away from your talent. It doesn't take away from your skill. Everybody has an off day or a ready and unready day, or a moment where they feel like they should not perform their skill if they're not remunerated for it. She even said, yo, if you give me a light bag, I might spit a little some. This is telling of the fact that it's a capitalist thing. The moment she comes on the interview, she's not a rapper. She's a money-making opportunity for Speedstar to catch views and for his platform to grow. And I don't think he respects the fact that he invited her in order to bolster his own profile and own platform. We're talking money here. So because an artist doesn't want to rap when you say they should, doesn't mean they should have, because you did not stipulate that they should. And so to go even further, those that claim rap is a sport or hip-hop in general is a sport are confusing the sport and competitive nature of capitalism, which says if you have a business, an entity, or a product, you need to look at your competitors. They're confusing that with actual hip-hop when there is no page, no chapter, no sentence in the history of hip-hop that makes competition an important thing. Play is important in hip-hop. We play with each other. We challenge each other for the sake of developing each other. It's like sparring. When you spar in boxing, you are testing the capacity of your readiness to fight as a boxer. You're not in a literal fight for your life or a literal fight for your reputation. When you rap against other rappers, as in the arena of battle rap, it's not personal. You do it as a part of a game. If you lose that battle rap, doesn't make you a bad MC. So where does this notion that rap is inherently competitive come from? It comes from pop culture beefs with rappers. It comes from hyper masculinity, which is very rampant in hip hop, and the fact that men find it hard to engage in conflict. So most of the time, when men who happen to rap are in odds with each other, they take it to the mic and they make sweet poems about how they hate each other. And we've talked about and we've focused on this so much, and capitalism has focused on this so much as a marketing ploy, that this is what we think rap is about. Folks, rap is about the message and moving the crowd. An artist who is characterized by beef will never last. We should learn this from the most famous beef of them all, where both of the rappers died. So if rap is a sport, I want no part of it, because that means that we're all just in it in order to try and be part of some kind of top rung in a hierarchy, when it's really an art form and the only competitor is yourself. You can only be better than you. So that's what I leave you with. Kiki is not whack for refusing to freestyle. Rap is not a sport. Hip hop is not a sport. Capitalism is a sport. Capitalism encourages competition. So let's get it right. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. It's been beautiful. We back at it, baby. I have an undisclosed bottle that I need to drink because we're having a good time. But love and respect to all of you. Keep following the channel if this is your kind of content.